In Los Angeles today, the actor and comedian Phil Hartman was shot to death in his own home, apparently by his wife.
Shocking expose alert. Dive into the chilling world of Hollywood's darkest secrets as we unveil the tragic fates of 35 beloved actors brutally murdered. From chilling crime scenes to unsolved mysteries, prepare for jaw-dropping revelations that will leave you speechless. 35. Sharon Tate. Sharon's first big break came when she was cast as the shapely bank secretary Janet Trigo in the television series The Beverly Hillbillies. Sharon's big role was when she was the starlet in Valley of the Dolls, 1967. Sharon was 2 months pregnant with her first child while filming in Italy and France, a funny Italian comedy movie, 12+1, in February 1969. On August 9th, 1969, Sharon Tate, Abigail Folger, Jay Sebring, Steve Parent, and Wojtek Frykowski were murdered by 3 of Charles Manson's followers. Manson died in prison in 2017. Watson and Krenwinkel are still in prison.
In a scene described by one investigator as reminiscent of a weird religious rite, 5 persons, including actress Sharon Tate, were found dead at the home of Miss Tate and her husband, screen director Roman Polanski.
34. Peter Arne. Peter Arne was, for a short time, the perfect villain in British film. He was very convincing as a Cromwell officer, an Italian camp commander, or a Nazi officer. Several times he had sword fights as a devious count. In 1972, he got a nice break with The Stallion, a TV movie in which he starred with a horse. He was also in a couple of Blake Edwards movies. He became an antique dealer with his sister as a sideline. He was murdered at the age of 63 shortly after being cast in Doctor Who, 1963.
Among the exhibits in the famous murders display is one collection that might best be described as Murder of the Famous, because the victim was a face well known on both cinema and television screens in the 60s and 70s. That of actor Peter Arne. 33. David Bacon. David Bacon was an actor known for The Masked Marvel, 1943, The Boss of Big Town, 1942, and Someone to Remember, 1943. He was married to Greta Keller. He died on September 13, 1943 in Hollywood, California, USA. He died of a stabbing. His murder was never solved. He had been romantically linked to actor Laird Krieger, who himself died the year after Bacon's fatal stabbing. 32. Merlin Santana. Merlin Santana began as an advertising model for a fast food chain at age 3 and soon became noticed as Stanley, one of Rudy Huxtable's admirers on the hit TV show The Cosby Show, 1984. His best-known role was as smooth-talking Romeo Santana on the popular WB series The Steve Harvey Show in 1996. Merlin Santana was murdered on November 9, 2002 in Los Angeles, California, while he was sitting in a car. He was 26 years old.
I gotta be honest with you. I was not 100% surprised when I heard Merlin had passed away. Merlin was a wild dude. He was super talented, but he was wild. And he was not, you couldn't tell him what to do. You couldn't tell him where to go. He wasn't afraid of anyone or anything to a fault, you know. Got him killed at the end of the day. Yeah.
31. Eddie Hassel. Eddie Hassel was born on July 16, 1990 in Corsicana, Texas, USA. He was an actor known for The Kids Are All Right, 2010, Surface, 2005, and 2012, 2009. He died on November 1st, 2020 in Grand Prairie, Texas, USA. The shooting death of actor Eddie Hassel was a random robbery that turned fatal, and the suspect has been arrested, according to police in Grand Prairie, Texas.
After that actor was robbed and shot and killed early Sunday morning in Grand Prairie. Police have arrested 18-year-old John Antone. That happened today for that shooting. And tonight, Aaron Jones met with Hassel's parents.
30. Christina Grimmie. Christina Grimmie was an American actress, singer, songwriter, and YouTube sensation. Grimmie is known as Zelda XLove64 on YouTube. She gained recognition after posting covers of popular songs on YouTube. She also placed second runner-up on The Voice. On June 10th, 2016, Grimmie was shot 3 times by 27-year-old Kevin James Loibel of St. Petersburg, Florida, while she signed autographs following her performance with Before You Exit at the Plaza Live in Orlando. Loibel then fatally shot himself after being tackled by Grimmie's brother, Marcus.
Christina Grimmie, a former contestant on NBC's The Voice, was shot and killed after her concert in Orlando, Florida last night.
29. Bob Crane. Bob Crane began a lengthy, successful career in radio. In 1965, he received the starring role in a new sitcom for CBS called Hogan's Heroes. He played the smooth-talking, crafty Colonel Robert Hogan. In 1973, Bob bought the rights to the play Beginner's Luck. He both directed the play and starred in it. The play went all around the country. In June 1978, Bob took Beginner's Luck to Scottsdale, Arizona. It was in Scottsdale that the unthinkable happened. In the early morning hours of June 29, 1978, Bob Crane was brutally murdered in his rented apartment room. He was beaten to death while he slept and strangled with an electrical cord. He was 49 years old. His murder remains unsolved. '28. Ramon Gay. Ramon Gay was born on November 28, 1917 in Mexico City, Distrito Federal, Mexico. He was an actor known for The Aztec Mummy, 1957, The Robot vs. the Aztec Mummy, 1958, and The Curse of the Aztec Mummy, 1957. He died on May 28, 1960 in Mexico City, Mexico. He was shot dead by a woman's enraged husband, and that woman was Evangelina Elizondo. 27. Christa Helm. Christa Helm was an actress known for Let's Go for Broke, 1974, Wonder Woman, 1975, and Legacy of Satan, 1974. She was married to Gary Clements. She died on February 12, 1977 in West Hollywood, Los Angeles, California, USA. A retired detective on the 48-Hour Mystery Show believed her murder was carried out by the same person who murdered actor Sal Mano.
I even asked her, I said, "Is everything all right?" And it was sort of like a crooked smile kind of, and she goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, here's the keys." But it was that old German Shepherd look, the eyes, dull. It was like, I don't know, I was too young to know. It was like a sign something's very bad. And saw all my friends at the beach the next day, you know, on the cliffs and stuff. And then when I went home, she was dead.
26. David Huffman. David Huffman was a familiar face in films and on television in the 1970s and 80s. The great success he had achieved was cut short after he was tragically murdered in 1985. In 1985, he was murdered by a thief in San Diego, California. After bringing cookies to say farewell to his Of Mice and Men castmates at the Old Globe Theater, he spotted and chased the thief, who had broken into a Canadian couple's motorhome, into a Balboa Park canyon. He was subsequently stabbed twice with a screwdriver. The murderer was sentenced to 26 years in prison in 1986.
Practice.
Why's that?
It's a long story.
Oh, you in some kind of trouble?
A man tells everybody his business, he doesn't have any.
25. Dick Kelman. Dick Kelman, an actor in movies and television in the late 50s and 60s, left Hollywood and began doing stage work. In 1975, he joined a partnership to manufacture women's play clothes and party clothes, and also began working as a dealer in antiques, silver, and art. On February 22, 1980, Kelman and business associate Steven Zaldek of Brooklyn were found shot to death in Kelman's posh Manhattan apartment. 27-year-old Charles Lonnie Grosso of Queens was convicted of the killings, which took place during a robbery, and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. None of the paintings, jewelry, and antiques stolen from the apartment were ever recovered.
There's a tooth mark on it. So somebody's been thinking with it. 10 cents. Yeah, thanks.
Hank!
Oh, hi.
Did it come back yet?
Picked it up this morning. Mainspring stem and plastic crystal. $6.20.
Will you take a check?
You have identification? A driver's license?
I don't drive a car.
24. Karen Kupcinet. Karen Kupcinet was an actress known for The Little Shop of Horrors, 1960, The Gertrude Berg Show, 1961, and Hawaiian Eye, 1959. She died on November 28, 1963, in West Hollywood, California, USA. Karen Kupcinet was found strangled in her West Hollywood apartment on Thanksgiving Day, 1963. The crime has never been solved.
Mark and Marcia were concerned about their friend, 22-year-old actress Karen Kupcinet. She had been extremely depressed over a broken relationship.
I just knew that something had happened. So it took us about 20 minutes to get there, from where we lived to her apartment.
I parked near the garage of her apartment house. And I went up the stairs, and I could sense the heaviness of death. I really could. And I walked down the hallway, outside hallway, to her door.
When I opened the door, and it was dark in her apartment.
And I walked into the room, and I saw there was a bowl of cigarettes over on the floor, and the television was on.
The whole room looked black and white, except for this figure of a body. And I went over and I said, Karen, wake up, thinking that maybe she had taken an overdose of drugs or something. And then I turned the lamp on, and I just screamed.
We ran out and called down, suicide, there's been a suicide.
But 22-year-old Karen Kupcinet was no suicide. The coroner determined she was strangled.
23. Danny Lockin. Danny Lockin was an exceptional dancer who started dancing professionally at age 8. He appeared in the film Gypsy, 1962, as Jerry. He caught the eye of Gene Kelly, who cast him in the film version of Hello Dolly in December 1967. After completion of filming on Hello Dolly, Danny played the role of Barnaby on the Broadway stage with Ethel Merman starring in the lead. He recorded a record album and for several years in the 1970s taught dance at his mother's studio in Orange County, California. The life of this wonderful and multi-talented man was tragically cut short when he was brutally murdered in 1977.
My walk will be different, my talk and my name. Ain't nothing about me's gonna...
22. Jenny Maxwell. Jenny Maxwell's most substantial role was that of Ellie Corbett in the musical comedy Blue Hawaii, 1961, depicted as a flirtatious teenage girl who had suicidal thoughts. Though she was not the film's female lead, her character received plenty of screen time and had its own subplots within the film. The film was a box office hit, the 10th highest grossing film of 1961. This was probably the height of Maxwell's career. In the afternoon of June 10th, 1981, Maxwell and her ex-husband Roeder were shot and killed in the lobby of Maxwell's Beverly Hills condo during what was reported at the time as being a botched robbery. She was 39 years old. The police attributed the deaths to a botched robbery, though nothing was stolen from Roeder's residence. This case remains officially unsolved.
If you like yourself, others will like you too.
There's nothing to like.
There's a lot to like if you wouldn't try to be something you're not.
21. Sal Mano. Salvatore Sal Mano Jr., at age 16, played Plato in James Dean's Rebel Without a Cause, 1955. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his performance in this film and again for his role as Dove Landau in Exodus, 1960. In 1975, he returned to the stage in the San Francisco hit production of P.S. Your Cat is Dead. He returned home from rehearsal the evening of February 12th when he was attacked and stabbed to death by a stranger. A drifter named Lionel Ray Williams was arrested for the crime and, after the trial in 1979, convicted and sentenced to life in prison for the murder, but was paroled in 1990.
Now, right about here, Sal Mano was confronted by this guy, and police believe that he offered some resistance and kind of scared the robber, and he ended up stabbing him one time in the heart, and he stumbled down right here, right where this SUV is, and fell face first on the ground. And this is actually right where his body was discovered when the police were called.
20. Ramon Navaro. Ramon Navaro and his family moved to Los Angeles in 1913 as refugees from the Mexican Revolution. After stints as a ballet dancer, piano teacher, and singing waiter, he became a film extra in 1917. In 1925, he appeared in his most famous role as the title character in Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, and later co-starred with Norma Shearer in The Student Prince in Old Heidelberg, 1927. He starred with Greta Garbo in the successful Mata Hari, 1931, but his career began to fade fast. On October 30th, 1968, Ramon Navaro was savagely beaten in his North Hollywood home by two young hustlers. They had heard, in error, that he had thousands of dollars locked away somewhere in his home. They never found any money, and Ramon was discovered dead the next day by his servant.
Dive?
I don't dive.
I have a surprise for you.
Not another painting.
Has Betty told you?
Betty?
19. Jack Nance. Jack Nance traveled throughout the country doing children's theater. For 8 years, he performed with the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. Later, he became involved with avant-garde theater. He first met David Lynch in the early 1970s in Philadelphia while he was performing in a local theater, and Lynch decided to cast him as the lead in Eraserhead, 1977. Nance died suddenly and unexpectedly on December 30th, 1996, from an apparent internal head injury the morning after getting into a physical brawl at a donut shop with some rowdy patrons.
My dog barks some. Mentally, you picture my dog, but I have not told you the type dog which I have.
18. Carl Alfalfa Switzer. Carl Switzer became famous for portraying Alfalfa in the film series Our Gang during the 1930s. His character was one of the most memorable characters ever portrayed in the series. Later in his career, Switzer's acting roles were limited to bit parts and appearances in B-movies. He supported himself through other lines of work. Switzer was fatally shot by an acquaintance over a money dispute. The circumstances of his death are disputed due to contradictory accounts by the shooter and by an eyewitness.
Fighting word, partner. We're cowboys from the mountain. From the drugstore.
Oh, come now, son. Don't do those things.
17. William Desmond Taylor. Entered the silent film industry as an actor in 1912. Most noted film as an actor was Captain Alvarez, 1914, for Vitagraph. He directed the first film for Balboa Films in 1914 and served as the president of the Motion Picture Directors Association for 3 terms. In the early morning hours of February 2nd, 1922, Taylor was found shot to death in his bungalow. His still unsolved murder was one of Hollywood's first major scandals. At 7:05 p.m., close friend and actress Mabel Normand arrived at his door. She left at about 7:45 p.m. with Taylor walking her to her car, according to witnesses. Studio officials were first on the scene and are alleged to have removed key evidence long before the police and coroner arrived to begin investigation and secure the murder scene. The list of suspects included the A-list in Hollywood, and rumors of payoffs and cover-ups quickly spread. Reports of finding some of Mary Miles Minter's personal belongings, including a monogram negligee in his bungalow, and her being suspected of the murder, effectively ended her career in pictures. Milner's mother, Charlotte Shelby, was another suspect in the murder. Mabel Normand's career would be tarnished by her association and questionable motivation in the death of Taylor. Other theories involved drug dealers who were angered by Taylor's attempts to get Normand free of drugs. Many actresses in later years would make deathbed confessions of being the true murderer of Taylor.
Murder in Hollywood, or should that be homicide? One of the biggest film directors of his day, shot dead. Victim's name? William Desmond Taylor.
16. Thelma Todd. She had been making shorts for Hal Roach when she was signed to Paramount Pictures. Her first role at age 21 was as Lorraine Lane in 1927's Fascinating Youth, 1926, a romantic comedy that was Paramount's showcase vehicle for its new stars. She also proved to be a savvy businesswoman with the opening of Thelma Todd's Sidewalk Cafe, a nightclub restaurant that catered to show business people. Unfortunately, it also attracted some shady underworld types as well, and there were rumors that they were trying to take over her club and use it as a gambling establishment to fleece the wealthy Hollywood crowd. According to these tales, Thelma and her boyfriend, director Roland West, wouldn't sell their establishment once they found out what the gangsters had in mind, which incurred the enmity of the wrong people with whom to have differences of opinion. Whether or not the stories were true, on December 16, 1935, 29-year-old Thelma was found dead in her car in her garage in Los Angeles. Her death was ruled suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning. At the time, as today, many felt that her death was actually a murder connected to the goings-on at her club, a theory that was lent credence by the fact that no one who knew her had ever seen her depressed or morose enough to worry about her committing suicide. Her death has remained controversial to this day.
Life was glamorous, and her death was Hollywood's greatest mystery.
She must have been so frightened.
Lonnie Anderson in a true story, White Hot, the mysterious murder of Thelma Todd.
15. Bonnie Lee Bakley. Bonnie Lee Bakley was born on June 7, 1956 in Morristown, New Jersey, USA. She was an actress and married to Robert Blake, Johnny Ray, Glenn H. Wolfe, E. Robert Tollefson, William Weber, Joseph Brookshire, DeMart C. Besley, Robert Moon, Paul Gallrun, and Evangelos Polakis. She died on May 4, 2001 in Studio City, California, USA. She was gunned down outside a Los Angeles restaurant when she had just finished having dinner with her husband, actor Robert Blake. The Beretta star was later arrested for her murder. Blake was found not guilty on March 16, 2005.
With all that you've been able to find out since that night, who do you think killed Bonnie?
It's not what I've been able to find out since that night. Bonnie had people that she burned. How bad? I don't know. Did she steal everything from them? Something? We'll leave that alone. But nobody ever really knew where Bonnie was. She had 15 ID cards. She had 15 credit cards. She had different places where she lived, and nobody could ever find her if they were looking for her. But one day, somebody opened a paper and said, Bonnie just married Robert Blake. Where does Robert Blake live? And what? A couple of weeks later, she was dead? Now, I just want you to chew on that for a minute with all these facts that you have.
14. James Kieran. James Kieran was born on November 6, 1939 in New York City, New York, USA. He was an actor known for Rhoda, 1974, and he died on July 24th, 1975, in Venice, California. He and actress Barbara Colby were walking to their parked car after teaching an acting class when they were gunned down by two men for no apparent reason. The killers were never caught, and the crime remains unsolved.
But in 1975, she and actor James Kieran were both shot by unknown assailants after an acting class. Colby essentially passed immediately afterwards. Kieran initially survived the attack, but later died in the hospital from his injuries.
13. Judith Barcy. Judith Ava Barcy beat 10,000 to 1 odds when she was discovered at a San Fernando Valley skating rink at age 5.5 in 1983 and mistaken for a 3-year-old. Her first commercial was for Donald Duck orange juice, and she went on to appear in anywhere between 50 and 100 commercials, several episodes of various TV series, and 3 major motion pictures. Her mother Maria was the main thrust of her career as a Hollywood starlet, but also took great pains to try to give her a normal, happy childhood, bringing her Hungarian meals like duck for her school lunch. But this happy childhood did not last long. Beginning in 1985, Father Josef would often be home drunk instead of working as a plumber, and he refused to let Maria work. As a result, the family briefly went on welfare until Judith's career took off in 1986 and 1987. By the time she entered 4th grade, she was pulling in an estimated $100,000 a year. As her career soared, her father became an increasingly abusive recluse who constantly threatened to kill his wife and daughter. CPS was called numerous times, but as Maria was reluctant to press charges, and many of the reports and accounts were emotional and not physical abuse, the case was not pursued. On Wednesday, July 27th, Eunice Daly, a next-door neighbor, heard a loud bang next door while watering her plants. The house had been set on fire, and later, the Barris' bodies were discovered, shot dead.
Frito-Lay has a new flavored Lay's brand potato chip. It's called
jalapeno and cheddar.
Okay, I got it now. New Lay's
jalapeno and cheddar.
No other chip can say it. No one can eat just one.
Man.
12. Thomas Jefferson Byrd. Born in Georgia, Byrd earned a Bachelor of Science degree in education from Morris Brown College and later received a Master of Fine Arts degree in dance from California Institute of the Arts. He starred in numerous regional stage productions, including the San Diego Repertory Theater's award-winning performance of Spunk. On October 3, 2020, he was shot multiple times in the back and was pronounced dead at the scene at 2259 Belvedere Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, USA.
A man has been arrested in the murder of actor Thomas Jefferson Byrd. Atlanta police arrested 30-year-old Antonio Rines today. This is drone video footage of the arrest from earlier this morning. It happened inside an apartment off North Camp Creek Parkway.
11. Dominique Dunn. Dominique Ellen Dunn was born in Santa Monica, California, the daughter of Ellen Beatrice Griffin Dunn and Dominic Dunn, a producer, actor, and writer. 3 weeks after arriving in Hollywood, she landed her first gig. Other roles soon followed, notably her role as Dana Freeling, the eldest daughter in Poltergeist, 1982, and Dominique was soon well known in the Hollywood social scene. Then, at a party, she met John Thomas Sweeney, the chef at popular LA night spot Ma Maison. The two began a relationship which turned stormy. Sweeney was uncontrollable and abusive, so abusive that Dominique did not need makeup to play the role of an abuse victim on Hill Street Blues in 1981. Dominique ended the relationship on October 30th, 1982. That same night, a distraught Sweeney raced to her house, where she and actor David Packer were rehearsing a scene from V, 1983. He dragged her outside and strangled her, leaving her brain dead. 5 days later, she was removed from life support and died, cutting short a brilliant career and leaving behind scores of shocked and angry loved ones.
But Sweeney didn't tolerate the rejection. In the middle of a new and growing discussion, he grabbed Dominique by the neck and squeezed her tightly. Dominique couldn't defend herself. Her ex's hands were large and powerful. She struggled as much as she could until she started running out of air. Inside the house, David had listened to the discussion, and when he went to the door, he saw Dominique lying on the floor. Sweeney remained by her side, and when the police arrived, he said, "I killed my girlfriend."
10. Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman was born Philip Edward Hartman on September 24, 1948, in Brantford, Ontario, Canada. In 1975, Phil joined the California comedy troupe The Groundlings. While in The Groundlings, Phil worked with Paul Rubens and John Lovitz, who became good friends of his until his death. Phil and Paul created the character Pee Wee Herman together, and Phil even had a role on Pee-wee's Playhouse, 1986, as pirate Captain Carl. In 1986, Phil joined the cast of Saturday Night Live and was on the show for a record of 8 seasons. Phil played a wide range of characters, including Frank Sinatra, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, Ed McMahon, Barbara Bush, and many others. On May 28, 1998, Phil was shot to death while sleeping in his Encino, California home by his wife Bryn Hartman. Bryn left the house and later came back with a friend to show him Phil's body. When her friend went to call 911, Bryn locked herself in the bedroom with Phil's lifeless body and shot herself. It was later discovered by the coroner that Bryn had alcohol, cocaine, and the antidepressant Zoloft in her system.
In Los Angeles today, the actor and comedian Phil Hartman was shot to death in his own home, apparently by his wife, who then killed herself. They had 2 children. Police are still trying to figure out exactly what happened, but clearly something went very wrong. Here's ABC's Brian Rooney.
9. Heng S. Enger. Heng S. Enger was a native of Cambodia. Before the war, he was a physician and medical officer in the Cambodian army. He moved to the U.S. as a refugee in 1980. Though he had no formal acting experience, he was chosen to portray photographer Dith Pran in The Killing Fields, 1984, and won an Academy Award. On February 25, 1996, he was found shot to death in the garage of his apartment building in L.A. Relatives and friends speculated that the killing was revenge for his opposition to the Khmer Rouge.
I love him like my brother, and I do anything for him.
A refugee who faced and endured atrocities for years, yet with no acting experience, he became a Hollywood star seemingly overnight.
The winner is Heng S. Noor in The Killing Fields.
This is Dr. Heng S. Noor, the first Asian male to win an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for 1984's The Killing Fields, where life truly imitated art.
If the war keeps going like this, the future could be very bad.
A role so raw and real, the physician turned actor could only watch it once.
8. Rebecca Schaeffer. Rebecca began modeling at the age of 16, going off to New York on her own to begin her career. Eventually, she landed a co-starring role on My Sister Sam, 1986, for which she is now best known. In 1989, she also became a spokesperson for Thursday's Child, a charity for at-risk teens. In April of that same year, she reluctantly went to a girls' shelter to sign autographs. Only 2 months later, she lay dead on the pavement in front of her new apartment in West Hollywood, having been shot to death by a paranoid schizophrenic fan around her age, Robert John Bardo, who came to her apartment asking for an autograph. She obliged, even though she was busy rehearsing in her apartment for the most important role of her short career. He later said he felt rejected by her because she didn't spend more time with him at the door. He returned a few minutes later, pressed the buzzer, and when she again opened the door for him, he shot her once in the chest, placing the bullet directly into her heart, and was pronounced dead at Cedars-Sinai Hospital within minutes of arriving there by ambulance after the shooting.
As they try and keep the patient alive, they look closely at the dying woman and recognize who she is.
Gradually, people begin to look at her and they begin to realize that this is Rebecca Schaeffer.
7. Dorothy Stratton. Dorothy Stratton's story was brief, glorious, and tragic. While not a beauty as a child nor early teen, Stratton came into her own out of high school and attracted the attention of Paul Snider, a promoter and wannabe star. He started dating her, and after seeing an advertisement for Playboy's 25th anniversary Playmate search in 1978, convinced her to pose for photos. Soon after, she was pressured into marrying Snider, who had a Svengali-like influence on her. After her Playboy centerfold came out, Stratton found work in a few movies, notably Americathon, 1979, and Skate Town, USA, 1979, as well as being the object of Richard Dawson's affection in an ABC TV special shot at the Playboy Mansion. In 1980, it was revealed that Stratton would be tabbed as the Playmate of the Year by Playboy publisher and founder Hugh Hefner. While this was one of the crowning achievements of her career, things were not going well in her marriage to Snider. He bothered her on the set of the movie Galaxina, and when Snider found out that she was developing more than a friendly relationship with director Peter Bogdanovich, Snider grew increasingly frustrated. After a separation, Snider bought a shotgun and talked Stratton into coming to the apartment they used to share in West Los Angeles. Snider tied her up, sexually assaulted her, and put the shotgun next to her face and pulled the trigger. Snider then turned the shotgun on himself to complete the murder-suicide.
Of Snider's roommates went to check on both Stratton and Snider. The roommates found both of them lying naked on the floor, dead. It was later reported that Snider had sexually assaulted Stratton before shooting her in the face with the shotgun. He then turned the gun on himself.
6. Lloyd Avery II. Lloyd Avery II was born on June 21, 1969 in Los Angeles, California. He was an actor known for Boys in the Hood, 1991, Shot, 2001, and Poetic Justice, 1993. He died on September 4, 2005 in Crescent City, California. At the time of his death, he was serving a life sentence for a double murder at Pelican Bay Prison. His body was not discovered until 2 days after his death inside his cell, and the chief suspect was his cellmate.
Look who done breezed into a nigga's shaz.
Yo, what up?
You, nigga. Just what a brother needs, a new celly.
5. Tara Correa McCullen. Tara Correa McCullen was born on May 24, 1989 in Westminster, Vermont, USA. She was an actress known for Rebound, 2005, Judging Amy, 1999, and Zoe 101, 2005. She died on October 21, 2005 in Inglewood, California, USA. Killed when suspected gang members fired into the crowd she was in outside an Inglewood, California apartment complex.
You don't like to back down from a fight. But real power is about being respected, not just cracking heads. Think about it.
4. Barbara Colby. The tall, toothy, husky-voiced, frizzy-haired actress equipped with a keen, Brooklyn tough sensibility and dead-on comedy instincts had just started to make a name for herself on the West Coast when tragedy occurred. On July 24, 1975, just weeks after her 36th birthday and only 3 episodes into the TV series, Barbara and her acting colleague boyfriend, James Kieran, were walking to their car following the teaching of an acting class in Venice, California, when they were deliberately shot by 2 gang members inside a parking garage area. Barbara, who was estranged at the time from Robert Levitt Jr., the son of legendary entertainer Ethel Merman, died instantly from her single gunshot wound. Mr. Kieran, who had recently appeared in an episode of MTM's Rhoda, was able to describe the shooting to police before he succumbed, but could not recognize the 2 men who shot them, noting that the shooting had occurred without warning, reason, or provocation. Police noted that there was no attempt to rob the pair, and it appeared to be a random act of violence. The killers were never caught, and the homicide remains a cold case. 3. Lana Clarkson. This beautiful, long-legged blonde actress was known to be a kind, intelligent, and dependable actor with a comedic talent as well. She appeared in many American TV hits of the 1970s and 1980s, such as Three's Company, 1976, The Jeffersons, 1975, The New Mike Hammer, 1984, among others. On the morning of February 3, 2003, American actress Lana Clarkson was found dead inside the Pyrenees Castle, the Alhambra, California mansion of record producer Phil Spector. In the early hours of that morning, Clarkson had met Spector while working at the House of Blues in Los Angeles. Spector was tried for the murder of Clarkson in 2007. On September 26th of that year, a mistrial was declared due to a hung jury, with 10 jurors of 12 favoring conviction. He was tried again for second-degree murder beginning on October 20th, 2008. On April 13th, 2009, the jury found Spector guilty of murdering Clarkson. On May 29th, 2009, he was sentenced to 19 years to life in state prison. Spector died in a prison hospital in January 2021.
He produced some of the greatest music of all time, but the world of legendary Phil Spector came crashing down when he was convicted of fatally shooting actress Lana Clarkson inside his castle-like home.
2. Raphael Miguel, a child prodigy who conquered viewers for his role as Pasoka in Chiquitas, 2013. Raphael Miguel is also best remembered due to a hilarious TV commercial where he breaks down in despair when his mother doesn't buy him broccoli at the market. The commercial launched his career in many TV series, 2 films, and 1 miniseries. On the afternoon of June 9th, 2019, a month shy of his 23rd birthday, Raphael was brutally killed by his girlfriend's father at their house. His parents were also murdered in what would be a simple conversation between both families to discuss the couple's relationship. However, the girl's father didn't offer them any chance, shooting all 3 and fleeing the crime scene. 1. Susan Cabot. Susan Cabot was born in Boston and raised in a series of 8 foster homes. Later, while trying to decide between a career in music or art, she illustrated children's books during the day and sang at Manhattan's Village Barn at night. It was at the same time that she made her film debut as an extra in Fox New York's made Kiss of Death, 1947, and worked in New York-based television. After a highly publicized 1959 fling with Jordan's King Hussein, Cabot divided her time between TV work and roles in stage plays and musicals. In 1964, she gave birth to her son Timothy, who suffered from dwarfism. He bludgeoned her to death with a weightlifting bar while she slept in the bedroom of her Encino, California home. He was charged with involuntary manslaughter, but cited years of mental and physical abuse by her as his defense. He received a 3-year suspended sentence and was placed on probation for the crime. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fascinating insights into Hollywood's darkest secrets. And while you're at it, check out our other riveting videos uncovering the mysteries of the entertainment world. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay tuned.